Commissioner.
All right. So we had an incident that occurred Tuesday evening, a little after 8 p.m., where a female was walking along the bike path at Hoyt Lake, parallel walking along by the 198, just prior to the pedestrian bridge, the corkscrew pedestrian bridge. While she was walking by herself, an individual came by on a bicycle and approached her on the bicycle and asked her what time it was. She had advised the time, which is obviously how we know what time this occurred, and then he continued to ride past. He got closer to the pedestrian bridge where, when she approached and walked up, he got up from a bench and he attacked her at that point, pulled her down to the ground and got on top of her. He had made some comments. The female put up a fight, she kicked, she fought. Another individual who was walking in the same direction heard the commotion and ran to her aid, where this man then got on his bicycle and he fled the area without anything further occurring at that point. He continued westbound on the bike path. We don't know if he would have gotten onto the pedestrian bridge or if he continued along towards the Lincoln Parkway extension behind the Art Museum. The female left the scene with this Good Samaritan, got to an area where she called for a ride and reported the incident to our Delta District Station House desk. The individual that we are looking to identify is a black male, late 20s, early 30s. He's about 5'9", 160 pounds. He was on a mostly black mountain bike, black and silver, but mostly black mountain bike. He had a gray t-shirt with some kind of graphic or white lettering on the front, black pants, dark pants, either sweatpants or pants. He also had black sneakers on as well. We are looking for help in identifying this individual. Our detectives were called in immediately, our Special Victims Unit detectives. They responded to Delta District Station House, began an investigation. They have been canvassing the area for video. They've expanded their canvas for video. We're asking the public, anywhere in that area, if he got on the pedestrian bridge, he would have gone up on the northern side of Lincoln Parkway by the pedestrian bridge north of the 198, or if he continued along by the Art Museum or somewhere along that route. They check their cameras in the 7 to 9 p.m. time frame and see if anybody matches that description. With that, I'll take some questions.
Are there any cameras in the park system?
So there are some cameras in the park, but not exactly in the area where there's. Some of the issues we have with our cameras is there's a lot of trees in the park. And when you get that summertime, you get the tree canopy, it blocks all the views.
Are there any worries for the public at the time?
You know, this is an unknown attack, and I should have said that up front. This is unknown. They are not known to each other. This is obviously very concerning. There's tips that we have put out before, and we'll say again. When you're going to go out walking, running, biking, it's best to do it with somebody, particularly when it's getting into the early morning hours or the evening hours. You want to be aware of your surroundings. Everybody has their headphones in. Don't have the music up so loud that you can't hear what's going on around you. If you're reading on your phone or a device, don't have your concentration so fixed on that device that you're not aware of your surroundings as well. And certainly let people know where you're going, what time you are leaving, what time you expect to be back. These are some of the tips that we normally put out. We have increased patrols in the park system, in that park area. We've added, like I said, additional patrols, and we have a lot of people going through there, a lot of officers.
This incident occurred on Tuesday. Why are the police not saying anything about it until today?
So we began an investigation. As I said, they are unknown to each other. Our detectives have been working nonstop on this, so we wanted to work through some investigative process first. There's a lot that we had to get through before we had enough information to get something out. And we felt now was the appropriate time to get that information out. But, we had officers in the area. We have increased. We put foot officers. We have officers and cars driving around there. We added more directed patrols. So we got people over there. We got officers over there. But we wanted to get to the point where we felt that it was the right time to get the information out.
Do you have any images you plan to release to help the public, help you?
Right now, we do not have any images. We are still working on that. There's a lot of areas that this person could have gone. So we want to get that information out now. That's why we're doing this now, that if anyone checks their cameras, see anybody matching that description, we'd ask you to call our tip line, our confidential tip line at 847-2255. There also is information that we are looking to talk with that Good Samaritan, the individual that ran to her aid. We would like that person, you know who you are, we'd like that person to either call our tip line or stop by any one of the Buffalo Police stations or Buffalo Police headquarters. We want to talk to you, we want to get information, we want to get a statement, we want to take this investigation further. So we are asking that Good Samaritan to come forward. And I will say this about the woman involved. She did exactly what we wanted her to do. She made a lot of noise, she yelled, she fought, she kicked, and there are a lot of people that use the park system, Delaware Park, Hoyt Lake, and thankfully for that, this individual also ran up and was able to help her out very quickly in this.
Commissioner, did he talk with an accent, or was it normal voice inflection?
So there were some comments that he made. I don't want to get into exactly what those comments were at this point.
What charges might he face?
That's we're kind of up in the air on that right now. So we're going to work through that. So that's what our investigations can continuing to work on.
Have there been any conversations about perhaps installing more cameras at the park?
You know, again, that is the challenge we have even throughout the city. We have to place cameras in strategic spots because when you get into the summertime, you can see the trees everywhere, even over here in Niagara Square. You're gonna install a camera, and they are pretty expensive, and it's not the expense that would prevent us from putting one up, but you want to get enough bang for your buck. So if the tree canopy is going to be in such a spot, you also have to have utility poles. You have to have the electric to get to that. So there's a lot that goes into the logistics of when and where we place cameras.
What's your message to the community who say that women or anyone should be able to go out for a run without fear?
You absolutely should be able to go out for a run, a walk, a bike, anything without fear. And we're going to do all we can to ensure that the safety of everybody that's out there. But again, use some of those tips that I just talked about as well.
Was she physically injured at all, do we know?
She did not sustain any serious injuries, thankfully, because again, she fought back, and this Good Samaritan that came forward. So I ask again for this Good Samaritan, please come forward, and please come forward as soon as possible.
All right, anything else? Yeah, can we just ask about any updates on the all-high fight?
Yes. Do you want a specific question, or?
Do you have any updates on the all-high fight?
So there were a number of arrests. We had 4 arrests. There is a potential of a 5th arrest pending. You know, the issue started that with some fights that occurred in the stands. The score of the game got to be pretty one-sided. I believe it was like 36-0 at one point. The fights increased. There were a lot of problems for school security. We had our school resource officers. We had police officers that were there detailed there inside and outside. And it got to the point where it just it needed to be stopped. In consultation with Buffalo Public Schools, the decision was made by the schools to end the game at that point. During the egress, a lot more fights started outside. They started coming after our police officers from the stands. They were throwing things outside the stadium at our police officers that were outside on Mercer Street. It got very chaotic. We had, as is reported to me, 4 of our 5 police districts had to send officers up to the area to disperse people. There were large fights. There were assaults that were occurring. We had the deployment of a taser. We had deployment of pepper spray to disperse the crowds. We arrested, I believe it's 2 14-year-olds, a 15-year-old. We have a 17-year-old that we are looking at potential charges, and there was an adult that was arrested. Forgive me, I don't have his age, but so it was a total of 4 arrests at this time with a 5th pending. It was also reported that we had some damage to police cars. I believe a couple of police cars had to be towed down because of tire damage, so we're still working through that. You know, it's a shame that it gets to this. You've got, you know, 2 high school programs that are out there that want to go out and have a good football game. And you want the students to be able to go out and enjoy a football game and support their team, but this is ridiculous. You know, we have to deploy a lot of resources to deal with this, and that's not what should happen, but we will be there. I personally spoke with the school superintendent last night. We were speaking with other members of the schools as well. What they decide to do going forward at some of these games, these night games, that'll be their decision, but it'll be in close consultation with Buffalo Police.
Yeah, how do you move forward? You know, we've had problems at the library where peacemakers are brought in. Fountain Plaza is now an issue. We've had youth stealing cars all summer. How do you move forward with this age group going forward?
You know, I think first and foremost, we look back at their families, parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, guardians, whoever it is, that you've got to, you got to talk to your kids. You got to talk to them about right and wrong. You've got to talk to them about what they're doing at school, what they're doing after school, not to hang out around downtown. And if you need help, let us know. We're not just looking to make arrests where we can. We're also looking to provide resources and services. The peacemakers provide a lot of resources. There's a lot of other avenues that if you are having trouble with your child, step forward and let us help you out so that we can try to get them on the right path so that it doesn't lead to an arrest. But there's a lot of other extracurriculars that are out there now with school back in session. There's things to do at school, get involved in things. But we had an increased police presence down on Chippewa, Main Street, Library, Fountain Plaza, working with the NFTA, the Erie County Sheriff's Department. We had a number of officers, and we will continue to do that, partnering with the schools. They also put out robocalls. Those robocalls go to the parents. Those are going to continue going forward, as well as announcements at the high schools to the students before dismissal that we don't want them hanging out downtown. Get on your transportation and go where you need to go.
Just to be clear, the increased patrols on Chippewa and Fountain Plaza, Library, that was yesterday for the first day of school?
So that was yesterday for the first day at school. We're going to do that going forward for the foreseeable future. We want to get the message out that it's not going to be tolerated. We will make arrests, and unfortunately, I want these young people, these high schoolers, to understand we will make arrests where necessary, and we will get information to the schools. They will also take disciplinary action at the schools. Superintendent is being very, very proactive about this, particularly with her messaging to the parents.
Is there a weapons policy at all high stadiums?
Yeah, there's no weapons allowed in there. It's school property, so there's no weapons allowed in there. If anybody brought any weapons, they would be obviously arrested if they were illegally in possession of a weapon, but you also can't possess a handgun on school grounds.
I was out there today and I saw a gentleman in front of me who went to the security checkpoint with a multi-tool on him.
Multi-tools are different. There's a difference between a multi-tool and...
But it still has a blade on it. I mean, it's a knife.
Yeah, well, you get into different types of scenarios on what kind of weapons and what the intent is. I'm talking about handguns in particular.
Anyone else? One more?
There have been 4 arrests. Have you pressed any charges at this point?
I'm sorry, say it again?
Have you pressed any charges against any of the 4 people you've arrested?
Yeah, they were filed last night. Yeah, 3 of the 4 were juveniles. They were processed. The adult was also arrested and charged. So those charges were filed. The 3 juveniles will go through the family court system. The adult will go through the city court system. And we are looking at potential charges on another individual.
What were those charges?
Basically, in a nutshell, they were resisting arrest, obstruction, disorderly conduct type charges. What you would expect to find in a large fight type of situation. Our officers put up with a lot last night. They dealt with a lot. I commend them for how they were able to get through, restore peace and order, and get people dispersed out of there. So they took a lot of resources to get that dispersed last night.
Thank you, everybody. Any updates on Hoyt Lake, we'll let you know.
Okay, thanks.